As we transition here into sections 3 and 4, recall sections 1 and 2, we began writing linear equations in slope-intercept form. And in sections 3 and 4, we're going to continue writing linear equations, except now we're going to focus primarily on point-slope form and standard form. Okay, so same idea, writing equations of lines, but we're going to write it in different forms. So, quick review. The slope formula, remember, change in y over the change in x, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You should be good on that. Slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b. Standard form of a line is ax plus by equals c, and a, b, and c need to be integers. Okay, in other words, they are numbers, not fractions. Okay, so -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, all the way up, all the way down. Point-slope form is probably something you're already familiar with, but just to kind of refresh your memory, the equation of the non-vertical line that passes through a given point, x1, y1, with a slope of m is given by this. So again, the whole idea behind this, right, you have slope-intercept form, where you need slope and y-intercept. This one's called point-slope. So in order to write the equation of this line, all you need is a point that lies on the line and the slope of that particular line, and you plug these things in to your formula accordingly. So it says write an equation in point-slope form of the line that passes through the point 3, -2 and has a slope of 1 over 7. So remember, the point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And so all you do here, this is your x1, y1, here's your m over here. And so you plug them in. Y minus -2 equals 1 over 7 times x minus 3. Okay, this is plus plus. So your final answer is just y plus 2 equals 1 over 7 times x minus 3. And you would leave it just like that. That's point-slope form. So the way that this helps you is when you look at this equation, you know right away this is the slope of your line, and the point -2 comma positive 3 lies on your line. It says graph the equation. So here's where it comes into play, right? So when I look at this equation, I realize right away this is my slope. And I also realize right away that the point 5 comma -2, okay, it's the opposite of what you see. So 5, I'm sorry, I have those backwards. The -2 is your x. So -2 comma positive 5. And so the way you would graph this is very simply, you'd go to your graph and you would plot the point. So -2, positive 5 is your starting point. And then from there, your slope is down 2, right 3. Down 2, right 1, 2, 3, plot it. Down 2, right 3, plot it. Connect your dots. We don't restrict the domain. Put your arrows on, you're done. So that's how you would use point-slope form for graphing. Example 3 says, consider the line that passes through the point -3 comma 1 with a slope of 2. Write an equation in point-slope form. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. And write the equation in standard form. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff. This kind of summarizes everything from sections 1 through 4. So in the first one, okay, I'm done as soon as I go y minus 1 equals 2 times x plus 3, right? Because it would actually be x minus -3, but that changes to plus. So here's your point-slope form. Your slope-intercept form, there's a little bit of work to be done here. Okay, because you go y equals 2x plus b. They give you an x and a y, so you do 1 equals 2 times -3 plus your y-intercept. So 1 equals -6 plus b. Add your 6 to both sides. Your y-intercept is 7. And so your final equation is y equals mx plus b. Y equals 2x plus 7. And then finally it says write it in standard form. And to write it in standard form, all you have to do is take your equation that you just found in slope-intercept form. Okay, so right now you have y equals 2x plus 7. And rearrange that so it looks like ax plus by equals c. So in other words, I need to get my x's and y's on the same side. So I get -2x plus y equals 7. And that guy there is your standard form of this equation. So all of those equations represent the same line. They're just different ways of representing it. Okay, so again, at this point, same type of example, I would go ahead and pause the video and see if you can't work through this on your own. So part A says write an equation in point slope form for this line. So the first thing you need to know in point slope form is you need a slope. Okay, so the slope here is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is 4 over negative 4, so your slope is -1. Okay, and you have two different points here, so you can write this equation actually two different ways. You could do y minus 4 equals -1 times x minus -1 plus plus. Or you could write it as y minus 0 equals -1 times x minus 3. Either one of those are going to give you the same exact line. Okay, it's not going to matter. Part B says write an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so again, I already know my slope. Okay, my slope was -1, so I know I have y equals -1x plus b. Now, if I'm being, well, I guess I'm not being savvy. So I know 2 points that lie in this line. I like 3, 0. It just looks a little bit nicer, so I'm going to plug those in for x and y respectively. So 0 equals -1 times 3 plus b. So 0 equals -3 plus b. Add 3 to both sides. Tells you your y-intercept is +3. And so to write my final equation, I have y equals -1x plus 3. In that slope-intercept form. And then remember, standard form, my suggestion, just take your slope-intercept form and rearrange it. In other words, you're going to add 1x to both sides, and you'll find you get x plus y equals 3. Okay? You'll notice standard form doesn't really provide a whole lot of information for you because you can't see clearly right now what the slope of the line is. You can't see clearly right now what the y-intercept is. You can't see a lot of things based on a standard form. That's why we really, to be honest with you, don't use it a whole heck of a lot. Okay, I'm going to let you guys work through example 5 on your own. It's identical to what we just did, and so I'm not going to go ahead and just kind of work through it again. You guys go ahead and work on that. If there's issues, bring them to class and we'll go over that. Okay, so that kind of summarizes the first part of this section 3 and 4 together. So again, when you come to class tomorrow, we'll work more on writing equations in point slope form, writing equations in standard form. I'll give you all the different scenarios that you could potentially be faced with, and hopefully do a better job of maybe summarizing everything and deepen your understanding.